You're listening to Awards Magnet, a Gold Derby podcast hosted by Joyce and Christopher Rosen. Welcome back to Awards Magnet. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce and Joyce, it's time for another mailbag episode.
So last week was basically like 93% Carla questions. I'm guessing this week is like 93% Anora questions.
Your guess would be accurate.
I'm so smart. So smart.
Very few emails about Carla Sofia Gascon or Amelia Perez. Probably good news for the team Amelia Perez, I would guess, at this point, right? Get that off the front page.
It's been a quiet week for Netflix.
I think that's for the best. But lots of emails about Anora, Joyce, and we have so many emails. I think we should get started first up with an old pal, Dimitri, who I believe has emailed us before, Joyce. And we had a couple of emails about this, but I thought Dimitri's was really solid. Emailed us at slugfest@goldderby.com. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Now that Anora has won of the PGA and DGA awards, is Demi Moore truly still a lock to win Best Actress? I feel like Mikey Madison still has a chance. Similar to what Joyce pointed out, that Anora was always there and has always been our frontrunner, this arguably extends to Mikey as well. I just don't see how you award Anora with Best Picture and yet Anora does not win Lead Actress. People have been saying this could be like Birdman or Shape of Water, where the lead didn't win. But those aren't the same thing. First, Shape of Water was inherently Guillermo del Toro's vehicle and was seen as a directorial feat, considered all the below-the-line support. Same can be said of Birdman. Anora is a performance-led piece first and foremost. This movie lives and dies on Mikey Madison's performance, which was excellent. There are no co-leads, and no one else even is developed. Maybe Ouroboros a little bit. The story is about her, and everything that happens just serves to develop her as a person. If you like Anora, you arguably like Madison as Anora. Moore really only has her narrative that carry her to the win, and she's arguably the co-lead in her own film. Thanks. That's from Dimitri.
So since Saturday, there's definitely been a pivot in terms of both the discourse online about Anora and like the next steps, so to speak, and also the campaign from Neon. Now it's like we got Best Picture and Director in the bag, probably, most likely. And now it's like, let's get the win for Mikey Madison. This week they have, voting has started, obviously. And they have their new ads and a new slogan from Mikey Madison, "Follow Your Heart," which is I noticed honor the man, Joyce. Honor the film coded. I love the heart because people vote for the things they love, right? That's it. Did they consult Frances Fisher?
I hope they did. But they don't really need it. People love the movie. I think what Dimitri's saying here, we have another one from David L. that I'll read just after this because it just made me laugh. But similar thing. People love this movie and they love Mikey's performance, right? Because like Dimitri's saying here, I think while you could argue, and I've seen some people do this, that, in the second act, when it's more of a screwball comedy, it becomes more of an ensemble and maybe she takes a little bit of a backseat as a character. The whole movie is about her. So it's hard to argue that if you love the movie, you don't love her.
Yeah. So now that's basically what the combo is like, can Mikey also win with the film? I think like before, this past weekend, it felt like, or the perception was that maybe like Mikey was carrying the film, because I guess they were both kind of defaultish frontrunners in the fall. Like I think that was like the consensus perception of the film and Mikey and Best Actress.
We've talked about that, right? Yeah. Like we always said this is like a placeholder. There's nothing else to put in first for you.
Right.
So it was like, it's going to be the default frontrunner until it's not.
Both the movie and her were most likely to get nominated,
Right.
And then, obviously Demi came along with her speech and everything and then turned the race upside down in Best Actress. But now like we've seen how strong the film is. So it's like, can she coattail the film? That's what it's turned into.
Let me read David L's email because it made me laugh, and then we'll just keep talking about this. But he wrote, our good pal David L writes in, "Hi Joyce and Chris. Since the love for Anora is strong enough to win Best Picture and Best Director, how does its lead actress not come along for the ride? We've seen multiple times the Best Picture winner takes home a lead acting award unless it loses to a biopic performance that's won the precursors, which isn't the case this year unless Fernanda Torres pulls off an upset. No offense, but Demi Moore's narrative feels like Angela Bassett 2.0, an actress who hasn't done a lot of great work. That all all of a sudden everyone thinks is overdue just because she gave some silly speech, but then loses the industry awards because she's giving an effortless fantasy genre performance with not a lot of passion. This is David L. So if you're a fan of the substance, I'm not endorsing this. I'm just reading it. How many voters in the Academy are honestly thinking that Demi Moore needs an Oscar?
I don't know if they necessarily think she needs an Oscar, but she's obviously very well connected. She has a lot of friends, you know? I think it's less about the performance and like her needing an Oscar.
I think she's good in the movie. We've talked about this. I'm not going to knock the movie or the performance. I think she's obviously deserving nominee. And if she were to win, I think that would be really cool. All that being said, the things I feel like are mentioned in both these emails from Dimitri and David L., like if your comp is Birdman, which Michael Keaton lost, he lost to the incredibly Beatty biopic performance from Eddie Redmayne in Theory of Everything. So that's not really, there's nothing like that here for Mikey Madison maybe to lose to, right? Because she's also, because Demi Moore is also like quote unquote genre performance, obviously, which I think you could say that Mikey is as well. And the other thing is we don't know, like we didn't know until Saturday how strong Anora was, right? Especially with the DGA win was so shocking, I think, to all of us, right? Obviously in play, but nobody really expected Sean Baker to win there. Now we know the industry really loves this movie. And we don't know what the industry thinks of this acting race. We have not seen it. So we know that like Demi Moore won the Golden Globes and the Critics' Choice Awards, which were voted on right after the Golden Globes. Not a surprise that she won there. But like, we don't know what the industry is going to do. That's why I'm really looking forward to BAFTA this weekend to be like, oh, if Mikey Madison wins there, I do think that is like the sign that she could win at the Oscars.
Yeah, like I mentioned the Angela comp the other day. It was because she became the frontrunner, and that was a very scattered race, supporting actress 2 years ago. But like she won the Globe and then immediately won Critics' Choice, non-industry awards, and then lost the industry awards. You know, like Carrie Condon at BAFTA, and then obviously JLC at SAG. Like SAG was like SAG is the one, like BAFTA's like whatever, but like SAG is the one like you felt like she really could have or should have won. You know, it's like it's Angela Bassett. But then obviously Everything Everywhere was also huge, and Anora is not as big as Everything Everywhere, clearly. So, but I do think it is obviously a strong Guild player. Like we've said, it has not missed a nomination anywhere. You know, it just has a low nomination ceiling. And I think that's why people have slightly ignored it a little bit, like between that and the Globes shutout. Like it's not capable of getting 13 nominations. It's not capable of getting double-digit nominations. Right. You know, and then people view, it's like a smokescreen, like the nominations, like people view that as like a definitive like clue about like how strong you are in the race, when you could win Best Picture with fewer nominations. You know, it's like you're just not a craft heavy film. But Mikey, yeah, like I think she can win BAFTA. And I mean, like SAG, the result, obviously it's not going to affect voting because Oscar voting will have closed by then. I think Demi has the edge there just because they love a narrative there.
So we got goofed on by this. I certainly did in the comments. We talked about this months ago or weeks ago at this point. Who knows? Who knows what time is, Joyce? About like when we were like, oh, is Demi actually a lock there? Because like the narrative, like you have Pamela Anderson also has a similar narrative, a much smaller film. Obviously, people probably don't even remember this movie, right? But it is a SAG nominee in two spots. And does Demi Moore have like, if you're voting on narrative or you're a member of SAG who's like, I really love a narrative, then you're having to pick between these two similar narratives. Obviously, Demi Moore's stature in the industry and her long career is much greater than Pamela Anderson. But I'm just saying in terms of like that as a narrative. And so I'll be curious to see how that race shakes. Like, I don't know. If she won at SAG, I would not be surprised. And if she wins a BAFTA, I guess, and she wins the whole thing, I can't say
she would just sweep.
She would just sweep, and that's fine. But like, I guess I'm not convinced she's like 100% for SAG. And I do think Mikey could even win there too. I mean, I know they love a narrative and they love the veteran performers, but you never know. I don't know. I definitely don't think this race is as locked up as many people seem to think. And that's not just because I love Anora more than the substance. It's not just my personal opinion. I do think there is room here for more flexibility that we'll see in the weeks ahead.
I mean, I think that like Anora getting SAG Ensemble was great for it. Right. You know, it wasn't, I mean, and also it got Eura too, you know, like it has not missed anywhere. No. So I guess it would feel weird. So like we're all assuming I'll win WGA on Saturday. right? I mean, obviously a lot of ineligible scripts at WGA, but still. So that means it'll have PGA, DGA, WGA. So it would be kind of weird for it to not win a single SAG award at all. I feel like it would make more sense for Mikey to win SAG and like Wicked to win ensemble than like Anora to win ensemble. Mikey not to win actress.
That maybe is true. And actually, we have another question here about SAG Ensemble. And you didn't mention this movie, but I actually think this is maybe the movie that wins SAG Ensemble, not Wicked. It's from JJ. Hi, Joyce and Chris. This is JJ, super film and tennis fan. We now know how strong Anora is with the industry, but what if Conclave were to win SAG Ensemble and BAFTA Best Film? Obviously, PGA DGA is huge, but SAG is nearly as big of a deal. Actors Branch is the biggest branch after all at the Academy, and BAFTA contains thousands of like-minded Academy-type voters. BAFTA also votes last before AMPAS, so that could mean that a Conclave win might be more on the, quote, pulse. Thoughts on if Conclave were to win SAG Ensemble and BAFTA Best Picture, could it contend with Anora's near unbreakable PGA DGA stat?
I would still go with Anora in that scenario, because, again, Anora has not shown weakness. Like, I don't think
Correct.
it needs to win Best Picture at BAFTA or SAG Ensemble. Like, it has the nominations at both places, and that's enough for it. And I think in the past, when you've seen the PGA and DGA winner beaten, you know, like 1917 and Parasite, like Parasite won SAG and also WGA. It's beaten by the smaller film, like the underdog film that has SAG and writing support. And I think Anora has acting and writing support.
I think that's true,
so
right?
It's
like all
it's
of
not
these
missing
comps,
anything.
No, all of these comps, it feels like Anora is still the underdog film, even if it goes in with all four guilds. You know what I mean? It's just like it is,
and Conclave missed Isabella at SAG, you know.
Right.
So
I do actually think that Conclave is very win competitive at I think it could win BAFTA, and I do actually think it could win SAG, especially over. Like, I feel like Wicked, you kind of clocked this way early, but it's Barbie, it's Wakanda Forever, right? Like, it's like that is the type of
like
movie.
Hidden Figures.
It's just not, and I don't think. Like, I think the nominations are nice, and obviously people really love the movie, but I don't think anybody is like, I have to vote for it to win. And I could see Conclave winning SAG Ensemble because I just think it's got so many great actors, and it's a real ensemble, and like people really do like the movie, and it's very watchable, and they don't have that, you know, you've also said this a lot, that there's a musical bias, right? Like a lot of people don't like musicals. You don't have that like barrier with Conclave. So I think Conclave could win at SAG. I still wouldn't pick, and if that happened, even if it wins at BAFTA, I'm still going to go down with Anora for Best Picture and Director. It feels like Conclave would just be all quiet on the Western Front in that comp, right? Basically.
Yeah, like I can see Conclave winning both BAFTA and SAG too. And it's funny because like Conclave is actually the most online film of all of these. Like it's the most memed.
Yes.
Of the season, ironically enough. And, you know, like this week they did the live read.
Mm-hmm. I that same night, I did an event with some of the nominees for Conclave. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to the producer, Mike Jackman, who is a lovely man. And he was like, I love the memes. Was, you know, like he was like, I love the memes. And he has to get his daughters to explain to him, I think, or his children. I don't know, actually. But, you know, it was just really nice. And I was like, you think about the movie, we've talked about this has been a crazy season, a lot of mudslinging and all these different things and major controversies. Conclave is very much unscathed, right? It is like a movie most people really like or think
there are no
is
haters.
Good.
Very hard to find a hater.
And so I do think that'll help it with SAG because it's such a big group. And I do think BAFTA is in play. I actually think whether or not it wins Best Film, I do think Edward Berger could win Best Director at BAFTA. I mean,
it'll definitely win Best British Film.
It definitely is going to win Best British Film, yes.
But it being so memeable and so beloved online, I think that also helps it at SAG because SAG is the most online group.
But in terms of like Oscars, and the reason why I wouldn't go against the PGA DJ split or Anora, even if that plays out as we're talking about, is because the passion is with Anora, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like people love it, and that's it, right? They like Conclave, they love Anora. It's making them feel something, right? Like I don't think
you need the passion for the number ones, and then you also need the consensus for their twos and threes, and Anora has both.
Yes. This one's interesting. This one's from Daniel. We have two Daniels and actually two Sams. I'm just going to tease this, Joyce. And the Sams are almost the same question, and they're different people.
Are you sure they're different people?
Yes, I'm positive they're different people. Yes, I am. This one is from Daniel, first Daniel. Not placing value judgment, just saying this is the first Daniel I'm going to read. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I've been very much enjoying your awards coverage all the way from New Zealand.
Oh,
Joyce,
wow, a Kiwi.
Yeah, we're international, Joyce.
We've known that.
I'm thrilled Anora had the weekend it did. It seems as though fickle pundits forgot how much consistent love there has been for the film ever since Cannes. I think it winning nothing at the Globes bamboozled everyone. But in reality, all that happened was Amelia Perez beating it out at a non-industry award, a musical comedy no less. Not a shocker, really. Anora will be such a lovely and welcome Best Picture winner and will stand the test of time as a great choice in the vein of Moonlight. Thank goodness Amelia Perez is well and truly out of the running. Otherwise, we could have had another Green Booker crash on our hands. This is where it gets, to me, Anora vs. The Brutalist feels similar to Boyhood vs. Birdman, the seemingly simple yet radical film versus the sweeping in scope parable about filmmaking. I also see many similarities between Sean Baker and Richard Linklater, a boyish love of movies with the spirit of grabbing a camera and people you love and making a movie in the backyard. Birdman, however, won that year and missed out on actor. I would have awarded the other way around. I don't think that will happen this year, but what are your thoughts? That is a funny comp because I've seen a lot of people doing, like we were just talking about.
Well, it's the reverse in terms of the awards.
It is the reverse in terms of the awards, but it does feel like very similar in terms of the films, right? But I do think the difference is there was a bigger passion, obviously, for Birdman than there is for The Brutalist. Maybe because it was so nakedly about the industry, right? You know what I mean? Like The Brutalist is about creating art and how difficult that is, but it's set in a world of architecture and not acting.
Yeah, and that was, another year in which things seemed they were leaning one way. I don't think this year things were looking, it was like leaning one way, or like there were more contenders this year, but like back then it was 10 years ago, it was like Boyhood was the front runner until the guilds chimed in.
Right.
And then it was like, we like Birdman.
Here's the thing too, that I keep going back to, like, we've said this a lot. The non-industry awards they matter in certain ways because I think they give the speech out, like Demi Moore.
It's the visibility.
It's the visibility.
And, yeah.
That all being said, if the Critics' Choice Awards happened when they were supposed to happen this year, and the results were exactly the same, which we have to assume they would be because then voting had closed, right? And Brady Corbet lost Best Director and Anora wins Best Picture with nothing but just Best Picture. Then we have a month to talk about this into the nominations and then into these Guild Awards. I don't think we would be like so surprised about how Anora and The Brutalist performed last weekend, right? Would you agree with that at least?
I think had Critics' Choice happened on January 12th with the exact same results, I think everyone would have just dismissed John M. Chu's win director as a fluke, as like, this does not affect Brady Corbet at all.
Okay. Okay.
Because obviously we would have also had DJ nominations by then and he did not get in.
Right. Right.
So, and then we would have BAFTA nominations 3 days after that. And he also did not get in there. So it's just like, whatever, it's just Critics' Choice being weird. And like, that was actually their fave because, they love Wicked.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think people would just brush off Anora winning just Best Picture and nothing else as a similar fluke. Like I think it would just be like, oh, it was probably close, like number 2 in a lot of categories, like actress and screenplay. And also not surprising, a lot of screenplay to The Substance because like they love The Substance,
mm-hmm.
Very online. The punditry class loves that movie. So I think like it would just, I think I think people still place more importance on the Globes. And I do agree Globes have more importance than Critics' Choice. So I think it would still be a red flag to people that Anora was blanked at the Globes.
Okay. One more on Anora. This one's from Michael. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I'm sure everyone is going to talk about the Anora chances to win in Best Picture and Best Director this week. They did. They are, Michael. Yes. However, I thought how much Sean Baker himself got a boost last weekend. He's nominated for 4 Oscars as a producer, director, writer, and editor. How many Oscars can he actually win? I can seriously see a way where he takes all 4 and ties Walt Disney for the most Oscars won by an individual in a single year. What do we think is winning editing? There doesn't seem to be a favorite, but I know many cite the editing as one of Anora's best qualities. It could win. Would love to hear your thoughts. I love listening to you two. Thanks and keep up the great work. That's Michael.
Oh, thank you, Michael. Yeah, he could win. I have him winning all 4 right now, which is hilarious because a week ago I just had him winning 2 for picture and screenplay. But now I'm winning 4, and he would, because Walt Disney won 4 Oscars in the same year for 4 different projects.
Yes.
So Sean would be the first one to win 4 for the same project.
Yeah, I've seen people get confused by that because Walt is like, I've seen people say it's never been done before, and it's like, well, it has because he won 4 Oscars in the same
but
ceremony.
It was like for
but
like
it's for different
shorts
movies,
and
right? And it's different time, but still, it still counts. Walt Disney did win 4 Oscars in a single night, and
also
Sean Baker could as
people
well.
continue to erroneously say that Bong Joon-ho won 4 for Parasite. It's like, no,
Right.
he just won 3 because the 4th one goes to South Korea.
Right. Just like Edward Berger is not an Oscar winner, despite the marketing for Conclave in the early stages.
Sorry to focus. So,
I actually think the funny thing is now I think he could win all 4 also. We talked to Sean Baker, Joyce. We ran that interview this week.
But that was before his
It was, but it was great.
Yeah.
Gotta say, it was great talking to him. I actually think screenplay might be his toughest. Editing, I think, is tough because I think Conclave could win there, and people really I think they like that movie a lot. But obviously, Anora is like maybe beloved by the industry as we've seen. But I do think screenplay could still go to the substance even after all this. Even if Demi loses, I do think that it could go to the substance based on, like we've said, the history of that category and the Academy being like, hey, we're gonna reward the big swing. And the original kind of thing, and it's like kind of like Get Out or, Her or whatever it is, and it kind of wins there. But also, if they love Anora, maybe they just go right down the line, and that's it. So I don't know. I think that I would put screenplay though at the bottom, behind editing, even at this point for Sean.
Editing is hilarious because we're not even going to have Ace because they moved it to March 14th because of the fires. So that's not going to give us any guidance. I don't think that's a lock for him. But if it could just win just because the movie is winning Best Picture, So I have Conclave winning editing at BAFTA.
Sean reminds me a little of like Chloe Zhao, right? Who was in play for 4 Oscars, obviously, and then didn't win all 4 Oscars. And I was like, what if and lost screenplay? And I was like, well, it's going to be silly if he loses screenplay.
Yeah, but I was never. I never thought she was going to win screenplay for Nome. I was like, that's the father. Sorry, that's the father.
Right, well, I'm saying,
whereas here, where I think he's always been the front runner in original screenplay. So it's just funny because he actually hasn't won anything substantial for his screenplay.
Right.
He's won a bunch of critics awards. But not anything televised.
And obviously they can't double up, but I could see a split being happening, like that same split, basically.
And then I think the difference between this scenario and Get Out and Shape of Water is no one was talking about the screenplay for Shape of Water, It's
no.
it was just the direct. It was he was not winning for the screenplay. It was directing and the short picture. He did not need that full package. It's similar to Oppenheimer last year too. It was just it was not going to win screenplay.
But I also think that the conversation has mostly to me, I actually did not think Sean Baker was going to win Best Director. Even if Anora won Best Picture, I don't think I would have thought that it would have carried him to Best Director.
No one had him.
So,
winning.
So it always was he'll win screenplay as the consolation prize for the directing prize that he won't win. Now, I don't know if they, you always say, they don't think like this, but I'm if he's already winning Best Director, then they might actually go with something else in screenplay because he doesn't necessarily need, I'm putting that in air quotes, screenplay win because he's going to win other Oscars. So I actually do think the substance, I'll be curious to see how BAFTA play. What if the substance could win BAFTA screenplay? Not that actually matters because they're usually wrong based on the last decade, but I could see it happening. And then maybe Corley Farja wins at the Oscars.
They don't if they love Anora that much, I think most people just vote it down the ballot. Yeah, you think they'll just vote it because they're not the only people who think strategically like that are people who follow the Oscars. Yeah,
but some of the voters maybe do.
But it's negligible. You're thinking 10,000 people think they're just they have no time for this. They're voting is open. I'll take 5 minutes to vote.
I guess the other thing is they do like the substance, and it is the most original idea in this category. No disrespect to any other nominees.
It is. That's why I have it in second.
Right.
It'll be hilarious if Jesse Eisenberg wins BAFTA because no one is talking. People would talk about it more if A Real Pain had gone into Best Picture.
Yes,
but he's actually won more of the prestigious critics prizes for his screenplay than Sean has.
Yes.
Sean has more total.
Yes.
But Jesse has the highbrow ones.
Correct.
And he's won more than Coralie too. But no one's talking about it because it's not nominated for Best Picture.
This is the other Daniel Joyce. This is Daniel M. writing in. Hi, Joyce and Chris. This is Daniel M. It's been quite a while since I wrote last. I emailed you guys a couple of months ago, but right now I have a question that's been on my mind, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Right now, Adrian Brody seems to be the frontrunner for Best Actor, with Timothée Chalamet positioned as a likely alternative. But let's say things take an interesting turn. What if Ralph Fiennes pulls off a surprise BAFTA win for Conclave, while Timmy takes SAG and Adrian holds on to his Critics' Choice and Golden Globe victories? In that scenario, Adrian with Critics' Choice and Golden Globes, Rafe with BAFTA, and Timothy with SAG, who would you predict to take the Oscar? Would it still be Adrian, or could momentum shift to one of the others? Thanks.
I would probably just go with Rafe in that scenario.
So this is actually what I think is going to happen. I don't know if I can pull the trigger on Adrian. I don't want to. I have him winning BAFTA when we did our picks earlier this week. I just kept him in there, and I'm not gonna I guess I'm gonna just keep him there until he's not there. Basically, you know what I mean? Like I'm just gonna keep him at the top of the Best Actor race until he's not there. But I really do think Rafe could win BAFTA, and I do definitely think Timmy could win SAG, and then we're left with what to do. I just keep going back to. They vote for what they like and what they love, right? And in terms of these movies, I know a lot of people really love A Complete Unknown, and I think they admire The Brutalist, and maybe that would put Timmy ahead of Adrian. But then what about Rafe? I don't know. I think I would go with Rafe too if he wins BAFTA, because I just think people really love him and the movie. And we're talking about earlier with Mikey Madison, not that they're that similar, but I mean, if you love Conclave, you loved Rafe because he's in every single scene and it's really his movie. So, maybe he also, does win.
Who's to say Rafe can win SAG? It's so funny to me how Timmy has just vaulted to the number 2 position based really just on the fact that A Complete Unknown got more nominations than most people expected. But it and he have not won anything, so, we're all presuming he will win something, but he actually hasn't won anything yet.
I kind of think with that movie, and just from I was talking to some people at the Conclave event, Joyce. Voters are there. And one of the people I was talking to was just I was of an age that was very much
boomer
this
bait.
person
it's a boomer bait movie.
Loved the movie and was my friends really. I was telling, but said a couple. It was oh, my friends were maybe reticent to see it, but they really they loved it, and I'm it is boomer bait, and I do think when you see pundits talking about oh, they're talking to Oscar voters. A lot of people they're talking to are older. You know what I mean? It's I think you're you're what is it called when you're your sample size is maybe skewed in one direction, right? Or when what is your control is not necessarily a control of
and
the
also
group.
Even if you're talking to 100 voters, which is a lot for one person to talk to, right? There's 10,000 people in the Academy.
So what I'm saying is I do think Rafe could win. I think here's what I'll say. I think I'm not sold on Adrian winning, but he has not lost anything, even though we're saying with Demi, he's never had an industry event, right? We don't know what the industry actually thinks of his performance in this movie. We'll have a better idea after BAFTA Awards on Sunday. I think if Conclave wins, if Rafe could win at BAFTA, that would be huge. If Conclave wins Ensemble and Rafe lost at SAG, I actually still think I'd be very bullish on Rafe more than anybody else. So I don't know. I could definitely see him winning. I just don't think, I think those lead acting categories are being sewn up prematurely, I guess I would say. And it could end up where this is the result, but I just don't think that that's going to happen.
I think the thing with Adrian is kind of similar to what has happened with Brady, where there's just been this assumption that they are stronger than they actually are. It's still TBD with Adrian, but with Brady in hindsight, him losing DGA is actually not that surprising because he has not dominated the Critics Awards like past directing winners have, right? He's won the most so far, but it's in the teens, whereas Christopher Nolan, the Daniels, and Chloe Zhao and Jane Campion, they won 40 plus awards their season,
right?
And then he didn't win any of the trifecta. So there were already red flags that maybe he's not as strong as these past directing frontrunners were. I don't know if that's also because he's not an established. I mean, the Daniels are not established anyway, but their film was also bigger and it's more accessible than something long like The Brutalist. And then similarly, Adrian, I think I don't know if anyone has used the term undeniable with him like they did with like Cate Blanchett or something. Anyway, it's a monumental performance, right? And it feels like a performance that would win an Oscar. But he also has not been as dominant with critics awards like Cate Blanchett was. So
we talked about this the other day, I think, or I mentioned it the other day too. If the comp is most people have compared this movie to Paul Thomas Anderson, right? And There Will Be Blood, and not
he's not sweeping like DDL.
But most of the people I've talked, most of the people who make that comp do it not pejoratively, but not positive. You know what I mean? It's like, this is like pastiche of that, right? Like The Brutalist is pastiche of like There Will Be Blood, or like, The Master. And so it's not, so like, I think it's like a copy of a copy kind of situation. So you're right. Like, obviously, like people love it. Like the performance is great, undeniable, very obviously admired, gets these nominations, but like, do they really love it? It's not like, and if your comp is Daniel Day-Lewis and There Will Be Blood, no disrespect to Adrian Brody, who I really think is great in the movie and I love, and like as an actor, he's not Daniel Day-Lewis and There Will Be Blood. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, maybe it's a little bit of a red herring that he's so far out in front, and we'll see this weekend. Now he could win at the BAFTA Awards and even SAG, because maybe people are just like, I already made I've been told that this is the monumental performance. I'm just going to go down the line with it.
I would actually love it if he just swept, because like all this discourse about like just the presumption of Timmy based on nothing is hilarious to me. And like, no shade to Timmy. It's just funny because I think a lot of it is also people don't want Adrian to win for various reasons.
Right.
Or they just don't like the Brutalist. So they have an agenda already.
I will say this. I think people really love the Timmy performance, and actors seemingly do love the Timmy performance, at least vocally, right? So like, I'm not surprised that he's like in front in SAG, and it does feel like the kind of broader movie compared to The Brutalist. And they obviously love The Complete Unknown at SAG, at least the nominating committee. They did not love The Brutalist based on the nominations. But I do think Rafe is like just like there and kind of underrated, and has this big movie that people really like, and is a great actor who's worked with everybody and worked on several massive projects in his life. And is hilarious and a great campaign. Like I think there's like, kind of like the presumption that he's not doing a lot, but anytime I see him in anything, he's having a blast. Like he was funny even on the Critics' Choice Awards with that stupid Chelsea Handler bit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, he
was more excited to do that baby girl bit than he was to accept Best Ensemble.
And people really like him. So I do think he's in play for these awards.
It's like, if he wins BAFTA, why can't he win SAG too? It's right. Like, I think Timmy's best path is like, hope Adrian loses BAFTA and Timmy wins SAG. Yes. So
let's take a quick break and we'll be back with some more emails. Joyce, we're back. Email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. We have a few more emails to get through. I'll try to make them quick. This one's from Promising Young Vermonter, who has emailed before. Interesting, new metric for us to consider. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Since Anora's recent wins, I've been thinking about a metric for predicting voting patterns. My idea is that the, quote, vibrancy of the characters in a movie is highly correlated to wins. Imagine a scale from Benedict Cumberbatch in Power of the Dog to Emma Stone in anything. The Academy seems to really value the expressive characters, Jamie Lee Curtis, over the languid, queer, hard truths at almost every turn. It feels like Zoe Saldana and Kieran Culkin are obviously playing memorable dynamic characters that tug on your heartstrings and seem to be running away with the wins. Here's my question. How do you think this will play in the best actor race? Two tricky men in Laszlo Toth and Bob Dylan, played by polarizing actors in a close race. Who do you think has the edge with the Academy? It's from Promising Young Vermonter.
Fascinating theory.
I think it's true.
Well, I think in this, what they're asking between Laszlo and Bob, I don't think that's fair, because like Bob Dylan is a real person.
Correct.
So,
but I do think it plays into it with Mikey and Demi.
Fictional characters.
Well, I think it plays into it with Mikey and Demi for sure. I think the Mikey is playing an Emma Stone coded character to me. You know what I mean? Like based on this. In terms of the actor, you're right. Like Bob is a real character,
and people love his songs. It's like it's not a fair comp. But I think that's what people argue. It's like, oh, people love Bob Dylan, so like Timmy can win. It's like
correct. This one's from Ari. Writing in, hi, Joyce and Chris. I know you said you believe Kieran Culkin has this thing wrapped up, which I hope is true. However, I wanted to explore an idea. Say Jeremy Strong somehow managed to overtake his former Succession co-star in triumph. He'd then have an Emmy, a Tony, and an Oscar, meaning he'd just need a Grammy to complete the set. How would you like to see him win it?
Well, he should have already won it for El to the OG.
Here's what I know based on how all the incredible interviews that he did about the Duncan ad, which we love.
It was, oh my God, that, like, he should just do a recording of that and submit it, like his answers, like submit the audio to the Grammys.
Whatever he decides to do to win a Grammy after he wins his Oscar, which I think will happen in the near future, personally, no matter what, maybe next year for the Bruce Springsteen movie, who knows, is I know whatever he does will be the most intense and he'll have a good time with it, but he will make the most of that Grammy nomination and potential win. It will not just be like, hey, I'm reading an audiobook. He's going to do something like out of this world.
He'll write the book. He'll write a book and then just read his own book.
Or he'll write a song and like do something. You know what I mean? Like he's just not going to, it's not going to just be like some cash in EGOT.
I was like, after like I read those interviews and like, you know, he wrote the proclamation, his Paul Revere. So like I obviously had to rewatch the whole thing again.
One if I land, two if I see. That is really the best. That is the best. The whole commercial, I would say, was not my fave, but his performance was my fave. That would be my review of the Duncan ad.
Absolutely iconic.
And Ben code switching into Ben director when he calls him out is just the best. I love it so much.
Directed by Ben, shot by Bob Ellsworth.
I gotta say, Bob shot better. Unless he was trying to replicate.
This is just what Java Jam looks like. Okay?
I guess unless he's trying to replicate a flat TV commercial, which in that case, genius work by Bob Ellsworth. This one's from Kat. Just to you, Joyce. Joyce, it looks like you were probably right to have had Anora in first from the jump. Are there other movies or TV shows you've always had in first place and never deviated from that eventually won? I don't mean massive projects where it was entirely obvious.
I don't know. From the jump is probably hard. I mean, there are probably a lot that I've had early on, maybe not necessarily from the jump, but before it became the consensus or the odds-on favorite. You know, like I put Parasite in first after it got the SAG nomination, not the win, but just a nomination, because I was like, that's huge.
I'll say this. I don't know. It didn't even get in, but I'll say this. You were the only person. I'm just not to gas you up because I don't care, but like you were the only person and it wasn't even right. All these caveats aside, you were the only person.
Great.
So this is great. I'm really gassing you up. Really, this is a really great compliment. But no, you were the only, we did our early picks, or I think whenever, you were the only person who was like a real pain as a Best Picture nominee. And I remember like laughing at you because I was like, there's no way that this little movie is going to be taken seriously as a Best Picture contender. And then it absolutely was, and probably finished like 11th. I mean, like it didn't make it in, but I do feel like you were the first person to say this.
I feel like maybe I'm Still Here just bumped it out.
It could have, because you were like the only person to say that. Even when it premiered at Sundance, people were like, "Oh, Kieran's good. It'll probably get him in."
It got PGA, so.
But it was like no one was taking it seriously as a Best Picture nominee, and you were way out in front on that one. So that would be.
Well, thank you for calling me on something that did not happen. So. I mean, I don't know, like what else? I've had a lot on like the Emmys actually. Like 9 years ago, immediately right after nominations, I just put Maggie Smith in first for Downton Abbey. I was like, she's winning. I was like, I knew everyone's going to put Lena Headey because they just want seriously to win. I was like, that's not happening. I was like, I've learned my lesson. And awesome. Maggie Smith won. I had Succession winning for screenplay or writing for season 1. Right after like season 2 premiered, and it was huge online because that premiered in the summer in August, and I just immediately put it in first after that, and I remember it was 4th in the odds. So wow. And then that year that was a big year for me, 2019, because I also had Fleabag winning, which I've talked about before. I put it in first. Like I wanted to put it in first, like after noms, but I put it in first after John Landgraf's TCA panel, in which he just mentioned Fleabag 3 times unprompted. I was like, the industry is in love with this. I'm like, it's winning. And I also had Chernobyl. I remember I was like, maybe the only person who had Chernobyl winning, because everyone else had When They See Us winning.
Of course.
And then like at my old job, I won numerous bets against my old editor because he used to do like Emmy predictions with me, and he would never believe me. When I was like, Aaron Paul is going to win. This was in 2010. He was like, no. He was like, Michael Emerson. I was like, no, it's Aaron Paul.
Well, that's like you playing against like, it's like a pool hustler, and when you're talking to street, normal people.
He could predict Aaron Paul too. He just didn't want to predict Aaron Paul.
This is a great segue because we have a few TV questions to wrap up, Joyce, which I knew you were excited about because you love TV.
I do.
Email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. This one's from Christina. Hi, Joyce and Chris. We all know the Critics' Choice Awards is a sham, but I have to say that it is nice to see Kathy Bates win an award. It's especially nice given all the retirement comments she has made. Do you think Kathy can carry this win to the Golden Globe and SAG nominations into Emmy season? She's such a respected performer. People really seem to like Matlock. Is it crazy to think she could bring network dramas back into the fold?
I think she can get in. Yeah.
I have her winning at SAG.
She can definitely. What if she wins both?
I think she, well, I don't know if she'll win the second one, but I do think she'll win actress. I think.
Great Lillian Hall.
I think that, like, clearly, like, we talked about this when the Emmy season was happening, and you were always like, oh, the Shogun acting is not like the broad acting style that, like, usually people, like, respond to. But at the same time, it just became an overwhelming juggernaut. But then Kathy wasn't in there against, like, and you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I could see her winning here. Basically, that's all at SAG. I think.
Yeah,
like, it's
I don't know. I mean, like, the Emmy's still, like, too far away to say, like, she would win.
Yes.
But I think she can definitely get in. Like, even if she's Matlock's only nomination. know?
So here we have the 2 emails from Sam. That's how we're going to end this, Joyce.
Double Sam.
The first one. This is a one Sam. I'm going to read them both back to back.
Are they even related?
It's almost uncanny. That's all I'll say. This is the first Sam. These are real emails. I'm not making this up. I know everyone is in Oscars mode, but I'm counting the days until this is all over and we can talk about TV more. I'm especially anxious to get out from under the award cycle and be free from the Shogun and Baby Reindeer of it all. I know you might not be able to give specifics, but do you think we've got a strong crop of potential new Emmy nominees this year? I'm really hoping the Pitt has what it takes to make it in. That's from Sam 1. This is Sam 2.
Not related.
Listen to this. Hi, I know we're knee deep in Oscar season, but I have a TV question I wanted to hear Joyce's answer to. Someone inspired by my new favorite show, The Pitt. I hope it doesn't cause too much whiplash. Besides Friends, the one with where episode title format, what is your favorite episode titling pattern from a TV show? Other examples include Seinfeld, 70s Show, Scrubs, Mr. Robot, One Tree Hill, and dozens more. My favorite is probably The Good Fight, which took a different show pattern. Took a different show's pattern for each season. Thanks. That's from Sam. So different questions, but like really almost the same thing.
Did they have like surnames in their emails or did display?
No, they
names?
had different. They had different names. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. They're
but
different.
like, who knows if they're real?
Well, no, but who knows anything is real, Joyce? It could be AI.
Are their names even Sam?
Oh, I don't know, but they both went with Sam, and they both mentioned the Oscars, and they both mentioned the Pitt. And I was just like, "What is this?" Anyway, why don't we take the Sam one first? The Pitt. Do you think the Pitt will make it in, Joyce?
I hope the Pitt makes it in. You know, I love the Pitt. And I hope Noah gets in at least. Noah Wiley, my beloved.
Do you think he could? I guess he could, right?
John
I don't
Carter.
know. Yeah.
He could, I guess, because you know we have Adam Scott and Pedro Pascal coming back this year too. Like there's high turnover from last year because only Gary Oldman is eligible from last year, but then we have these other people coming back too. So I hope he does. It's a Max show, so it's a Hacks basically. So it's not on HBO proper,
right?
You know, so but it's doing well according to like the fake streaming numbers. You know, and I know a lot of normies who watch it. So I hope that bodes well for like industry people too. And I think it's a very easy show to get into. Like it's not groundbreaking by any means. Like it's basically 24 in a hospital. Mm-hmm. But I think because it's set in an ER, it's like the tension is so high and you just get caught up into it. And then you like I binged like the screeners in one day a couple months ago. And I guess like I don't know like the experience of watching it like week to week, but I think like if you watch it week to week, it's like crazy to think about like, oh, this is happening like an hour apart, like these like crazy things for these people. You know? So mm-hmm. I hope it makes it.
And then how about the episode titling before we wrap up? That seems like something you would pay attention to.
Yes. So they mentioned The Good Fight, right?
Yes,
the Sam.
Yes.
So, but The Good Wife also did something cool too because it had 7 seasons. So then it would correspond to as it increased to season 4. It would so like for season 1, it would have like 1-word episode title. Season 2, 2-word episode titles. It would increase up to 4. Season 4 would have 4 word episode titles, and then it would start decreasing. Season 5 would have 3, 6 would have 2, and season 7, the last season, would have 1. So that was cool. And then I like Hannibal because they were titled after just meals.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is this a lost art? Do people pay attention to the titles of episodes now?
I don't know. I mean, I do, certainly.
Obviously. But I don't know if people do. I don't think they do. They're just like, what's next?
No.
Just shovel it in my mouth.
Next. Yeah.
Shovel it in. Email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. And we'll be back to talk about this weekend's BAFTA awards and more in the future, Joyce. I don't know if we're going to do a live episode. We'll talk about this offline. We'll see. See what we're going to do. Great stuff. But I'll talk to you then, Joyce. Bye. Thanks for listening to Awards Magnet. The show is produced by Aaron Greenwald. Our logo is designed by Chelsea Sikora. To be part of the show, email us at slugfests@goldderby.com and follow us on social media @goldderby.